Derby Wars, racing's biggest contest site, is now even bigger with more than 200 games every day. Check out Survivor, Derby Wars' hottest new game. It's fun, easy to play, and for just $4 you could win $1,000. Just pick a horse to finish first, second, or third and advance to the next race. With daily payouts and games starting every hour, you'll see why fans are racing to play Survivor.
Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipsy, and as always, I have the extra special pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Schiffman. I call him the Big A Matt Schiffman for obvious reasons. Matt, how are you today?
The obvious reasons are that's Aqueduct, right, Brian?
Let's go with that, Matt. Yeah, the Big A stands for Aqueduct, of course. But before we talk Aqueduct, Matt, let's go to Churchill Downs, my neck of the woods here in Louisville. Big race Friday. The older horses were lining up to look for the Grade 1 victory in the Clark Handicap, but instead it was the trusty, the reliable 3-year-old Gun Runner, the son of Candy Ride, earned his first Grade 1 victory in style Friday night at Churchill Downs.
Yeah, Brian, and just thinking back to the show last week, I know we both kind of wrapped up our preview on the Clark by saying, it would be really nice if Gun Runner gets the win in the Clark, and he did it. It turned out that Gun Runner was way the best in the race, and a little hindsight, maybe the race had a lot of horses with good resumes that maybe weren't quite at their best, but I'm not taking anything away from the terrific performance of Gun Runner that earned 104 Beyer speed figure.
It was a terrific performance, Matt. It was speed on the rail. He broke from the 1. Florent Charroux did what he needed to do. He went to the lead, and he dominated the race. He controlled the race. But yeah, frankly, I was disappointed with the performance of the good older horses. I'm going to run down a list here, Matt. Noble Bird, FNX, Opportunity, Shaman Ghost. None of them really fired what I thought was their best shot. Also, we need to talk about the break because I think a lot of the race hinged on what was going to happen early, and when Noble Bird broke poorly, it really did help Gun Runner. I don't want to take anything away from Gun Runner either because he is a terrific horse, and he's been terrific, Matt, from February through November, pretty much the whole year. This was his first Grade 1 win, but he's now compiled four graded stakes wins. He's also finished second or third in, what do we got? The Kentucky Derby, the Travers, the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, the Pennsylvania Derby, which I think this year proves it really needs to be a Grade 1. But that's quite a year for Gun Runner.
Yeah, looking at the total numbers, Brian, 9 races this year, 4 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, with just shy of $2 million earned just this year. I don't know how anybody can have any knocks about Gun Runner.
Gun Runner was not the best 3-year-old in the country the first half of the year. He was not the best 3-year-old in the second half of the year, but he was one of the best the entire year. And I don't think there's another 3-year-old that can say that. So kudos to Gun Runner. As I said, disappointing efforts from everybody else in the race. Matt, the horse that he ran against in the Penn Derby, I kind of alluded to it, that the Penn Derby needs to be a Grade 1 race now, pronto, next year for sure, was a horse called Connect. And Connect is a horse that I was told about in the spring. What a wonderful horse this is, working out of the Chad Brown barn. He has all these good horses. People told me that Connect was the best one in the mornings, and he, the son of Curlin, has gone on to prove just that. And we saw him Saturday at Aqueduct.
Yeah, what a great race that was, Brian. Beforehand, people were saying it wasn't a particularly good field in the Cigar Mile. I think those people need to eat their words a little bit because Connect has stamped himself as quite an excellent horse. And what a stretch duel, almost the full length of the stretch between Connect and 4-year-old Divining Rod, who is coming back into really good form.
Yeah, remember, folks, Divining Rod might not have the name of some of the older horses that are out there, some of the ones we just mentioned in the Clark Handicap, but there's no doubt in my mind that he ran the best older horse race of the week. He ran better than any of the good ones that were in the Clark last year. Arnaud Delacour has him back after an extended layoff. He's come back with 4 really nice races. Remember, he was 3rd in the Preakness last year. This is a very nice horse. And he came back at Connect. It looked like Connect had him early in the stretch. He surged back, and he actually took the lead on Connect in the Cigar Mile, Matt, which makes me realize just how tough a horse, how much Connect wants to get to the wire first. We saw that a little bit in the Penn Derby when it looked like Gunrunner, despite a wide trip, was going to go by and win that rich $1.25 million Penn Derby. Connect fought back from the inside. They were separated quite a bit from inside and outside, but he fought back and was pulling away against Gunrunner in the Penn Derby. Now for him to come back on Divining Rod and surge to the wire in front, I was extremely impressed, to the point, Matt, where I had Connect as my Zat Star of the Week this week over Gunrunner. And if you asked me before the Cigar Mile if I'd do that, I would have said no. But that's how impressed I am with Connect. And Matt, he's won 5 of 6 races this year. I don't think people realize how good his record is. 5 of 6 races sounds very familiar. In fact, it sounds just like Arrogate.
It sure does. 5 of 6 races, $1.2 million earned this year. Just in the last half of the 3-year-old year, ran a big number, 106 Beyer figure in the Cigar Mile. I understand why you made him your Star of the Week, because Connect is a rising star, and Gunrunner has been a nice steady star all along.
Yeah, nice steady star all along. Connect is a real rising star, I think, much like Arrogate. Of course, Arrogate, at this point, you'd have to say is the better horse. Arrogate has a little bit more high-profile wins, but don't sleep on Connect as being a real superstar next year as a 4-year-old, maybe right behind Arrogate. Gunrunner also coming back. We might see all 3 of them. All 3 of them are maybes right now for the Pegasus World Cup to face California Chrome. It would be nice if Arrogate, Gunrunner, and Connect, the 3 best 3-year-old males of the second half of this year, lined up in that Pegasus World Cup. Matt, before we talk older horses next year, I think we need to talk a little bit more about the upcoming 3-year-olds, the Kentucky Derby 2017 horses. And there was some moving and shaking, and we had our first future wager pool this week, but we saw some good ones. McCracken undefeated, winning the Kentucky Jockey Club first time around 2 turns on Saturday.
Yeah, and these last 2-year-old races of the year, they sometimes don't produce horses that turn out to be big contenders on the Derby trail. But I don't know. I think you and I both liked what we saw in the Kentucky Jockey Club and in the Remsen with the winners. And McCracken was terrific, 3 for 3. Big closing move, coming around the outside, field of 10. For trainer Ian Wilkes, who had a huge weekend at Churchill Downs, winning 3 graded stakes races.
Yeah, Brian Hernandez Jr. on aboard all 3. Ian Wilkes, the trainer of all 3. And it's nice to see nice people here in Kentucky, Brian Hernandez Jr. and Ian Wilkes. Matt, getting back to McCracken, I was impressed with that race. It wasn't as eye-catching maybe as his win in the Street Sense Stakes, where he really blew by the field. This time he had to kind of wear down, specifically Wild Shot, who was a pretty game second-place finisher here. And Wild Shot had run some nice races going into the race, including a 3rd in that really good Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. And McCracken just kept coming. There was no stopping him, and at the wire he was more than a length ahead. McCracken, interesting. He's trained by Ian Wilkes, who doesn't usually have his horses really geared up early. So for him to be 3 for 3 at this point is impressive. All 3 races coming at Churchill Downs. That has to bode well a little bit for the Kentucky Derby for the son of Ghost Zapper. Sure,
home field advantage is always a nice thing. At the Derby, he's not going to have to ship. Everything's going to be nice and comfortable for that horse. Gotta be up near the top 2 or 3 in people's Kentucky Derby lists at this point.
Yeah, he's number 2 on my list, which I think is a little bit higher than he had been wagered in this weekend's future pool. Ian Wilkes said he's going to bring him to Palm Meadows and then probably on to Tampa Bay. So it'll be very interesting to follow the undefeated son of Ghost Zapper, McCracken, as he makes his move to the first Saturday in May right here at Churchill Downs. Matt, another big 2-year-old race, we saw it in person at Aqueduct on Cigar Mile Day, the Remsen. And I'm going to say this before you talk about the horses. The Remsen was about 2 seconds faster than the Demoiselle, which, of course, was run on the same day, the 2-year-old fillies.
Yeah, and fans need to keep in mind that the Remsen was run at 1 1/8 miles at Aqueduct, and 1 1/8 miles at Aqueduct is no easy thing because this time of year the track is always deep. It's always a tiring track. It's not an easy thing for these young horses who, for the most part, haven't even come close to going 9 furlongs. But we liked what we saw from Motown. Guess what, Brian? Another son of the prolific and early sire Uncle Mo. So much that people like this horse that the Coolmore gang bought into Motown before the Remsen.
Yeah, this is a Tony Dutro trainer, and he trained horse, and he still has a piece of the horse. Team D is that ownership, but the Coolmore bunch are in on this one now. Impressive 3 races he's run. He's also run 3 races like McCracken. Very nice second in a good main race at Saratoga, and then he won in the mud at Belmont for fun at a mile. Looked very good. Don't be fooled. Like Matt said, folks, 151 and change. Don't dismiss this race because it looks a little bit slow in the final time. That was not a fast track at Aqueduct on Saturday, as Matt mentioned, deep. Motown tracked the undefeated favorite, Takaful, and really put him away quite easily, and then had plenty left to hold off No Dozing. I think No Dozing is another horse we need to talk about, Matt. He was let go at 40-1 in this future pool, and he was running pretty darn well at the end of the Remsen to be a clear second, well clear of Takaful, who faded to 3rd. No Dozing had run, he's the son of Union Rags, and he had run in Keeneland, where he made a move and faded a little bit to be 4th. But this was a nice run from both Motown, Tony Dutro, and then No Dozing.
And I'm not going to completely dismiss Takaful from this race because Takaful was on the lead, ran a little bit erratically, squirted out on the backstretch to a big 4-5 length lead, and then let the field come back to him and fought kind of gamely coming around the turn into the stretch. It was not a track that was kind to front runners that day. It was a little green, son of Bernardini. So, like I said, I'm not gonna throw that horse out just yet.
Yeah, Matt, that's a good point. Takaful was making only a second start in the Remsen. He went from 6.5 to 9 furlongs. That's tough, and on this track especially, he did open up too much early in the stretch for some reason, so that maybe did not help his chances either. We should also mention Uncontested from the Kentucky Jockey Club. In a bigger field, he faded to 4th, but he also set the pace coming out of a nice maiden win, his only second start as well. So Uncontested, 4th in the Kentucky Jockey Club, and Takaful 3rd in the Remsen. Only their second lifetime race, only had sprints beforehand, so 2 horses also to watch out for. Matt, were you a little surprised how the Kentucky Derby 2017 future wager, the first offered for 2017, shook out in the final odds on Sunday night?
Maybe a little bit. I certainly wasn't surprised that Classical Empire was the favorite at 6-1. Maybe was a little bit surprised, but then again, it was the West Coast money going on to Mastery, who was the second choice. And the West Coast fans really didn't have too many other horses that were legitimate. So most of the West Coast money I guess went on to Mastery. Maybe I was a little surprised that Motown was a few dollars more a favorite than McCracken, both of them at 12-1.
Yeah, Mastery, of course, has made his first 2 races look easy for trainer Bob Baffert, the son of Candy Rod. He's looked very good. He's the 10-1 second choice on this future wager. I was a little surprised, honestly, that Classic Empire was nearly 7-1 after the scratch of Not This Time due to the unfortunate retirement of that one. I thought Classic Empire would be even a bigger favorite among the individual. Of course, the field, everybody else other than the 22 that were individual options. The field went off at 6-5. But Classic Empire nearly 7-1. I think it was 6.9-1, Matt. Maybe he offers some value as good as he looked this year. Yeah, I was a little surprised too that Motown was preferred to McCracken. I think McCracken has not, despite his undefeated record, the son of Ghost Sapper might not have everyone's full attention yet, but McCracken is number 2 on my list. And as a long shot on that list, I thought No Dozing going off at 40-1 after what we saw in the Remsen was interesting. And again, that's a son of Union Rags. Matt, lots of good racing out in Del Mar over the weekend. Texas Rayano was a nice winner, finally turning the tables on Ashley Love Sugar. But my favorite race from Del Mar over the weekend was one of Graham Motion's winners for West Point, our friend Vinny Viola. Ring Weekend is a horse that I've liked from the beginning. It seems like years ago when he was 5th on the dirt in the Preakness, he's now won 5 graded turf stakes despite missing some time in the last few years.
Yeah, Ring Weekend has been a horse that I have always liked, and seems like Graham Motion's setting up a little bit of a stable on the West Coast and doing very well at Del Mar. It was a really interesting race. Horses coming back from various spots in the Breeders' Cup. Goes out and sets the lead, gets a little pressure for a lot of the way, draws off from that pressure coming around the turn, gets the lead, but then Ring Weekend came and ran him down. And then Vijek, good old Vijek, back on the turf, runs a big race, and Ring Weekend was able to hold off Vijek and get the win.
Yeah, it was a heck of a good finish, Matt. I wonder about Ohm. He's obviously a talent. Of course, he just missed in the turf sprint where he was really charging hard at obviously, and he was a clear favorite in here off that race. But I haven't seen Ohm. I know he beat American Pharaoh back in a maiden race a long time ago, but I haven't seen Ohm win a lot of big ones. And this turned out to be a pretty big one, and it was a really good stretch drive. Ring Weekend always had Vijek to his outside, but Vijek just kept coming. And for a second, I thought Vijek might actually get the win. But Ring Weekend, of course, got it. And like I said, a really nice turf horse. He was my bomb in the Breeders' Cup Mile. He didn't quite get it done that day, but it was nice to see him get the win. Vijek obviously looks like a better horse on the turf nowadays than the dirt. Seems like he should stay on the turf. But it was nice to see Ring Weekend win again. The Pizza Man, unfortunately, another turf horse that I was hoping for, was favored in the River City. I guess that was Thursday at Churchill Downs. And he came running like he always does, but only a third in that race to Thatcher Street, which, of course, another win for Ian Wilkes and Brian Hernandez. I just heard Brian Hernandez Jr. was named the Jockey of the Week, so that's nice to see. Not one of the biggest names in the country, but the former Breeders' Cup Classic winner gets the Jockey of the Week award. Matt, I guess the biggest races next week are from Del Mar.
Yep, out in Del Mar, we got the Matriarch and the Hollywood Turf.
The Hollywood Derby, Matt. Yeah, two great ones. The Matriarch and the Hollywood Derby. And I think the one that we're most looking forward to seeing out there, of course, we don't have the fields yet, but Sunday's Matriarch will include an old friend of both of ours, and that's Miss Temple City. She's been to Ascot 2 years in a row, Matt, and this year she has 2 Grade 1 wins over males. Let's see if she can get a Grade 1 over the fillies now.
Yep, Graham Motion going for another win with Miss Temple City.
Yeah, Graham Motion is on a roll. All right, folks, that's our show, HorseCenter, this week. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, we thank you for watching, and thank you to our sponsor, which is the best contest site out there. That's Derby Wars. Any closing shots from you, Matt?
I don't know, Brian. It just seems like every weekend there's great racing around the country. So I don't know. You got to love this sport. And always, I want to say thank you to our ace producer, Brett Workman.
The hitman in the house. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you next week on HorseCenter.